Tell us something about the Prakrit language, says Ritesh Raj. Was it a sister language of Sanskrit? Is it still spoken? No, no, no. I know there are lots of YouTubers and all and people who claim that Prakrit came before Sanskrit, which is which is risible. It is funny. It's not even funny. It was not a single language. First of all, Prakrit. It was a bunch of languages. The Prakrits. All right. The oldest language that we know of in the history of humanity is Vedic or possibly pre-Vedic Sanskrit. Linguists talk about a hypothetical Proto-Indo-European language. Well, that language, so that's what you will find in all books about linguistics, in all history textbooks which reference linguistics, in research papers and articles. The truth is that the oldest language that we know of is Vedic Sanskrit. And obviously that language would have evolved out of something else, which would not be Proto-Indo-European, it would be pre-Vedic Sanskrit. That's what it is. So, and these Prakrit languages, they emerged later, sometime in the first millennium BC. And it's very likely that in the post-Vedic age and before the first millennium BC, there was this time period, the great Mahajanapada era and all that, in which lots of different languages would have been spoken, which would have emerged out of Sanskrit. Apabhransha languages. These were the Prakrits. And the Prakrits were spoken until the first millennium AD and maybe even slightly later. We had Maharashtri Prakrit, we had the old Gurjari language, which is the ancestor of the Gujarati and Rajasthani languages, and so much more. You had the various Magadhi languages. Every single language that exists in India today is a descendant of the older Prakrit languages, and the Prakrits, they all emerged out of Sanskrit. So it was not a sister language of Sanskrit or any such thing. It was a descendant language, emerged out of the various corruptions that Sanskrit underwent. Languages evolve, languages change. People who live in different parts of the world, they will eventually, their languages evolve. So if you look at the Persian language, the old Persian language that was spoken during the Achaemenid period, the first millennium BC, that itself you could regard it as a Prakrit language because it emerged out of Sanskrit. So it was significantly closely related to Sanskrit. You could actually, if you read the inscriptions that are written in the cuneiform script, but which are in the old Persian language, they sound very much like Sanskrit with certain pronunciations changed. And some words here and there have been changed, and some grammar is kind of modified. But overall, if you understand Sanskrit or even Hindi, you will understand significant portions of what was written at the time. So the Prakrit languages are daughter languages of Sanskrit, not sister languages. There are lots of YouTubers who these days spread this propaganda that Prakrit came before Sanskrit, Buddhism came before Hinduism, all this nonsense. Please don't pay attention to this nonsense. Please don't, right?